Good afternoon, brethren.
Good afternoon.
Okay, we're going to start right in on 2 Corinthians 10. And I just want to let you know because it might seem vague if I don't bring this out at first so you can follow. There has been men that is giving Paul some troubles here. And even on into chapter 11, it shows that it's still the case, but Paul's dealing with it very boldly, and yet just with that information, it's easier to follow. So with that, I'll just get right in. So, verse 1. Now, I, Paul, am personally exhorting you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ. On the one hand, when present with you, I am base, but on the other hand, when I'm absent, I am bold towards you. And we know where we take the example of Christ, and that's what we do here in the readings. We go to the examples, and we learn because we follow Christ in the same way Apostle Paul did. So Matthew 11:29 says, "Take up my yoke, and you will learn from me." And here it is. "For I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." So there's a meekness and gentleness of Christ. In verse 30, we'll add that one. "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." He works it out for each of us. It's amazing. And I'd like to also go to Galatians 3:27, just to show how to be accurate here. As Paul is, we follow him as he follows Christ. And so it says, "For as many of you as were baptized into Christ have put on Christ." That means we do follow Christ. We become one with Christ. We come out of the world. Okay, Romans 13:14, I just want to add that one because this is all good, and we want all we can get from these readings. "But put on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make no provisions for the flesh to fill its lust." This will get us set on the right track each and every day. So these are just wonderful tips. And the Apostle Paul is really a good guide, and he's a trusted follower, and we're to follow him as he follows Christ, and the rest of the ministry also. Okay, verse 2. "But I am beseeching you so that when I am present, I may not have to be bold with the confidence with which I intend to show boldness towards some who think that we are walking according to the flesh." So there's some problems with some of the people. They think Paul's walking in the flesh. Very interesting, you know. Paul's going to show we need to be bold with some of the people at Corinth. If we see this happening in our congregation, we're going to find that we are to follow these ministers as they follow Christ. So Paul was away for a while. These people must have crept in and given some controversies on how to run a church or something. We'll see Paul handled it very well. Okay, we have a first-hand example on how Jesus showed us how to be bold when we need to be. Now, this is not an example where we should be tearing into each other, but it is an example to show, no, we can be bold when at the right time. So we do want to be careful with our brethren. But if you go to Matthew 16:23, it's just a fine example of the boldness of Christ, because Christ loved Peter. There's just no doubt about it, and that's why I actually wanted to use his example. It says, "But he turned and said to Peter, 'Get behind me, Satan.'" Very bold. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men. Okay, so now Christ is our example. He just gave us one. Now we want to be careful. We don't want to tear into the brethren, but at the same time, it's good to be ready, especially for false teachers that come in. We need to be bold. We really do. So that's just a good example. So verse 3, for although we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. Okay, Paul explains this comment in detail. Go to Galatians 5:16. Galatians 5:16 says, I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. There it is. And then we can add a little more because it's the same chapter, same subject, in verse 5:19 through 21. Galatians 5:19 through 21. Now, the works of the flesh are evidence, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contention, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfishness, ambition, dissensions, heresies, envies, murderers, and drunkenness, rivalries, and the likes. And so it's telling you there could be even more added, but we have the mind of Christ, so we're going to see we won't enter the kingdom if we don't put these out of our lives. Okay, it says, which I tell you beforehand, just as I also told you in past times. So then the Pope told one, he really emphasized it, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. So we surely would ruin our whole reason of being called. Okay, so verse 4, let's continue. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the overthrowing of strongholds. Okay, we have scriptures to back up the type of power, Okay, Paul is a real warrior, and like we say, we want to follow the good examples, and we know Christ was a warrior. He's a king, and he's in charge of all the armies of God. Okay, so here we go. These are our examples, so we each to be the same type of warriors, every one of us. Okay, 2 Corinthians 6 verse 7. Okay, 2 Corinthians 6 verse 7. By the word of truth, by the power of God, by the armor of righteousness, on the right hand and on the left. We're warriors, armor. We've got a breastplate of righteousness. We're warriors. We got to know we're fighting against Satan and those principalities. It's amazing, and they'll come in one after another. We got to be ready. Okay, now let's continue. Verse 5. 2 Corinthians 10:5. Casting down vain imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought into the obedience of Christ. That's part of the warfare right there. And Christ is our example. Let's go to 1 Peter 2:21 and 22. I'm using a lot of scriptures, but do we want to miss these? I mean, we're trying to perfect it. We want to be all that when the kingdom is offered. And it's a time, and we don't know when it will be cut short. We need to be ready now. So this is why I just wanted to add them all. Here's 1 Peter 2:21 through 22. For to this you were called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps. There it is. Who committed no sin, nor was deceit found in his mouth. It's just a wonderful example, and our lives are supposed to be being led by God. And of course, we have Romans 8:14. It says, for as many as are led by the Spirit of God, these are the sons of God. But we have a responsibility here. We have to, from now on, think on a higher focus. It's what will keep us out of the danger, but we have to have the armor, the higher focus. We know that the evil forces out there, we won't be like Adam and Eve didn't see this coming. They didn't. That was Satan that was talking to Eve. They didn't see it coming. But anyway, we do. We have the armor, and we should be ready for the warfare. Okay, 2 Corinthians 10:6. Now, I on the next couple verses, I used the New Living Translation because I personally had a hard time getting my mind exactly on how it was being phrased in many of the other translations. So, 2 Corinthians 10:6, New Living Translation, and after you have become fully obedient, we will punish everyone who remains disobedient. So, in other words, he's giving Corinth, Paul's not there yet. He's giving them a tip off. Look, everybody, come on, be obedient. But those that aren't, he's going to come to all those that are remaining disobedient. And so, same New Living Translation, verse 7. Look at the obvious facts. Those who say they belong to Christ must recognize that we belong to Christ as much as they do. And I think he's kind of like letting them look at the fruits here. We raised up the church. These guys are coming in, taking another man's work. That's what he's talking about. And Paul made it clear. I don't do that. I don't just show up in another man's work. And they raise up a church and I show up and start talking different. Well, he said, you've got to judge the fruits here. So Paul's really giving a lot of talk that he's not actually saying. But these are for the Corinthians to wise up here. Okay, let's go on to verse 8. For even if I should glory somewhat more concerning our authority, which the Lord has given to us for your edification and not for your destruction, I shall not be put to shame. He's going to see this through. Okay, and Paul he loved all the churches. I mean, no way he was going to see this through. Okay, verse 9. In order that I may not seem as though I am frightening to you by means of epistles, okay, he was just saying, I'm going to carry out the punishment he promised to those that are remaining disobedient. Remember, he told some, stop this, and to the others, if you remain, I'm coming. Okay, and I guess I did one more New Living Translation, and that's I went to, let's see, verse. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. I went to 2 Corinthians to 10 verse 6. So I'm backing up to re-say it in the New Living Translation all over again. And after you have become fully obedient, we will punish everyone who remains disobedient. So you get that crystal clear in your mind. There's people here that are causing some problems. Paul meant business. He was going to use his authority to stop the remaining disobedient people at the Corinth church. Okay, verse 10. For on one hand, they say his epistles are weighty and strong, but on the other hand, his bodily presence is weak and his speech is contemptible. So Paul knew what they were saying, but he's going to answer. They're going to have a surprise with this answer. He's going to let them know this is not the case. So verse 11, let such a one think about this. That exactly as we are in word by epistles when we are absent, so will we be in action when we are present. No, the pussycat is not a pussycat. He's coming with that same boldness that he speaks with. Okay, so verse 12. But we dare not join ranks with or compare ourselves with those who are condemning themselves. For those who measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves have no understanding. Paul refuses to compare himself with these false teachers. By using comparisons of the standard is comparing ourselves with Christ, and we'll always know we're falling short. He's our example. That's who we compare ourselves with. Okay, verse 13. Now, we will not glory of things beyond our measure, but according to the measure of the rule that God has distributed to us, which extends even to you. Yes, Paul has that authority even to them. Okay, and he's letting these false teachers know that his authority especially is the church of Corinth. This silliness they're standing up like this. But he's going to deal with it. Okay, verse 14. For we are not stretching beyond our measure, as if we did not extend to you, for we also came to you with the gospel of Christ. So he did this ministry exactly how he was supposed to. These guys had no rights to come in and say otherwise. Verse 15. We are not glorying in things beyond our measure, such as other men's labors, okay? But we have hope that when your faith is increased, we will be abundantly enriched by you according to our rule and faith. Okay, he's very concerned that about their maturity, and he's hoping and he's trying to encourage them. Never again let these false teachers, have any sway in this congregation again. And Paul feels like he's trying to reach them, and he hasn't come yet. He's hoping that this congregation, and this is our example. This happens. We are a congregation. Maybe we have some responsibility. Let's get these false teachers straightened up, because we're going to follow Christ, okay? Now, I would like to go over just one chapter to 2 Corinthians 11:4, and this just shows in the next reading that this problem is not going away yet. He's still dealing with it in the next chapter. I'll just read it. For if he who comes preaches another Jesus whom we have not preached, or if you received a different spirit which you have not received, or a different gospel which you have not accepted, Paul is saying this: you may well put up with it. I mean, in other words, what are you guys doing? These are false teachers. Come on, okay? And this is for our example. Look, we are not to put up with such a thing. And we got to remember the warning of Christ. There will become many false teachers. Be ready. It can happen. But we need to do our job. Okay? Okay. So Paul is really trying to wise them up. Okay? And okay, let's go ahead and move forward to verse 16. In order to preach the gospel to the regions beyond, and not to glory in the things made ready in another man's territory. Okay, 17, but the one who is glorying, let him glory in the Lord. Now, Paul's really, I like this one because it took me to somewhere. You ever hear people that have their favorite verses? I think I found Paul's favorite verse. You ever hear how many times he talks about, but those who are glorying, or those who are rejoicing? I think I know where he got it. I think it is one of his favorite verses, and that's why he repeats it so much through all his epistles. Let's go to Jeremiah 9:24. Jeremiah 9:24. But let him who glories glory in this, that he understands and knows me, that I am the Lord, exercising loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, says the Lord. There he is. There's his Lord. There's the one who he's following. He's talking about. You want a glory? You want to talk about glory? And then Paul just picked up on that one, and he just puts it all through his epistles. I really love seeing that one. Okay, Paul also refers it in Lot as a lot as in 1 Corinthians, just as an example, like I said, he keeps bringing it up. 1 Corinthians 1:31, just as an example. It says that, as it is written, he who glories, let him glory in the Lord. See, I didn't know that. He picked that up as a favorite, and he just kept saying it in different ways in his own. And it was still inspired, and it's recorded, and so it's important. It's very important. Okay, we're wrapping it up. Verse 18. For the one who is approved is not the one who commends himself. Come on, that doesn't do it. Okay, but the one whom the Lord commends. I think we have to be qualified to be approved. Okay, so we need to judge the fruits of the men that say that they're in charge. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not trying to cause trouble, but you can see how we are to follow Christ, and that's how we follow our leaders. We follow Christ.